Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever been at a restaurant with a bunch of your friends and then the waiter brings a check at the end of your nice juicy meal and then you're just sitting there looking at each other trying to figure out and pulling your hair out how to calculate how much everybody owes and how much the tip is? Well, that's the problem that we're going to be solving today. We're going to be building a tip calculator that not only shows you the tip and how much you owe, but also calculates the tip and how much everybody owes. So once and for all, you can solve this problem. We're going to be doing this with JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript actually. That's going to be our weapon of choice. Smash that like button so this video goes out to as many people as possible. And as always, here's a picture of a baby panda and let's get into it. For those of you who don't know me, I am Rafik Kazi. I'm the CEO and founder of Clever Programmer, and I just like to go by Kazi. Now, if you want to build this along with me, you're going to have to fork this because the styling of this app is already completed. We're going to be working on the JavaScript functionality. So make sure to go below at this link or just click the link in the description below. It's going to be a Replit link and simply go ahead and hit fork. All right. Once you hit fork on that, what that will do is allow you to code in that REPL by yourself. Okay. And what you could do then is just code along and finish the JavaScript portion. So the files that you're going to get are going to already have the HTML and CSS completed. You're going to only need to write the vanilla JavaScript to make the entire functionality of this app work. All right. With that said, let's go ahead, and I hope you've already forked this, because if you're not, I don't know how you're going to build it along with me, but go ahead and fork it and let's build this app together. Here's what we're going to do now. We're going to step it up. We're going to go and start building a tip calculator app. So check it out. I'm going to go over here and we're going to do the following. I'm going to open this up. So hit that button right behind my face, the top right, and it's going to open up this right here. And we're going to go over to tip calculator and click on it. Okay. And here, if you type in, let's say the bill total is $100, the tip amount is 10%. And then you can see it already calculated it correctly, right? Because if the bill is $100 and the tip is 10%, well, the tip would be $10. So then the total would be $110 per person. But what if we had more people? What if we had 2 people? So watch what happens when I hit plus. Boom, the bill just got divided between 2 people. And so it automatically tells, hey, John, you need to pay $55. Kazi, you need to pay $55. So both people know exactly how much they need to pay. What if I keep increasing this number? Well, you see it keeps dividing between all of those people. So if the bill was $110 and you divide that by 10 people, you get $11 per person. Now watch what happens if I keep subtracting it. If I go here and now subtract it, watch, it's not going to let me go down to 0, right? I'll try a couple more times. Boom, 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 boom. Nope, does not let me go below 1. So these are some of the functionalities of this app that you'll have to keep in mind. So for example, what will you need to know how to do? Well, you'll actually need to be able to get the user input from this field right here. Okay. And this field, let's say it's called this one over here. Let's just say it's called bill total input. Okay. Then you're going to have to get data from this tip as well. And let's say this one is called tip input. Okay. Also, you're going to need to be able to pull the number of people at any given time. This one will probably be called, let's say, number of people. Okay. So maybe these are all divs or inputs that you can have, these are IDs that you might be able to have access to. Okay. And then this over here, this right over here, right? This will be called per person total. Okay. And all of these will be div IDs. Okay. Which means these are special things inside of the HTML and you can get access to all of this. So then if you want to get access to this $110, you'll be able to do something like per person total, div dot inner text or whatever, right? And that'll get you access to what you're looking for. And that's just to show you how the JavaScript portion will interface with this app, okay? And then based on that, you're going to need to do things, right? So for example, you're going to need to do some calculations that, maybe take the bill plus the tip, and then it divides that by the number of people. And then when you do that, you get this. So there's going to be a bunch of things that you're going to need to understand, but take a screenshot of this actually right now on your computer or with your phone, because this will help you constantly refer to certain key elements on how this app is going to work. So I'm going to now explain and kind of walk through this app, and we're also going to have you set it up on a new REPL. So let's go ahead and do that now. So this is going to be your tip calculator exercise. So how you're going to get access to it is I'm going to zoom in here so you can see everything a lot more clearly. Okay. And then we're going to kind of walk through every single thing. So on the left-hand side, right, you see projects. Click into projects. All right. Now when you click into projects, you're going to see tip calculator. So go ahead and click on tip calculator. And now you're going to see exercise. Now, don't go into the solution, because once again, if I show you how this works over here, right? Let's run this. And over here, you'll see that we have project exercises and project solutions. So here's the tip calculator solution. This will be the fully working app. So you'll be able to type in 100 here and 10, and it'll calculate everything correctly. You'll be able to hit plus, minus, minus, minus. So this right now is the working version, okay? So if you need to see the solution at any time, don't go to it right now. Do not do it. But this is where the solution will be. And the main file that you need to write code for is the script.js file, the JavaScript file. The index.html and the style files are already completed for you, so you don't need to touch them. If you make the JavaScript work, this entire app will work, okay? So that's where your solution is going to be. But if you go to tip calculator from project exercises and you do 110 and see nothing happens, you can't change the number of people, it doesn't update your score, there's no calculations being done here. So the JavaScript here is not working, okay? So this is where your JavaScript is not working. So this is your exercise file, okay? Now what I recommend, highly, 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 highly recommend, you don't just start coding in this script.js. What I recommend is you create a new REPL with these 3 files, right? And then get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to create a new tab here, and we're going to go to replit.com. All right, now we're going to choose HTML, CSS, and JavaScript REPL. And here I'm basically going to say, let's go and say tip calculator exercise, and I will hit create REPL. Okay, now that this REPL is created, what I recommend you do is go back, go to your index, copy all of this. So Command A, Command C, or Control A, Control C. Okay, select all right in here, copy it, go here and delete everything in this index.html and paste what you just copied. Okay, so once you paste it, you should see an ugly looking bill app, okay? Now, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the style file. So let's go ahead and grab the style file, copy it, come back, go to your style.css, delete everything that's in here, hit paste, hit run, and now the styling is complete. So now our app is looking good, okay? So this is what style sheet is for. Now, the last thing we're actually going to do here is, you see, if you go to your script, there it's empty. So we're going to go ahead to our exercise, copy the whole thing. Okay, Command A, Command C, come over here, paste it. So now when you look here, there isn't any real JavaScript code written up, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to collapse all of these functions. And now what we're going to do is we're actually just going to walk through like all of the things that you need to know and the gotchas, right? And then you'll be able to just get started and code it up yourself. Okay, but just let's walk through it together. All right, so you're going to be building the tip calculator app. Now, there are a couple of things that you're going to need to know. All right, otherwise this project is going to become way harder for you, and I don't want that to happen. Okay, so I want it to be something that you're able to kind of grasp. So there are a couple of functions you're going to need to know their names, all right? And you have access to them. So you have access to calculate bill, increase people, decrease people. These are the functions you're going to create. These are the only 3 functions you'll need, and make sure to give them this exact name. They're already made for you. You cannot change their names. If you change their name, your app will break. I'll explain why. These functions are hard-coded inside of our index.html. Okay, so for example, when you are typing over here, every time you type on key up, we're calling the calculate bill function. So that function is running literally every single time you type here. That's why that function is there. You don't need to change that name. The other function I told you about, for example, increase people and decrease people function, those are also written here. So for example, you can see here, increase, there's a plus sign right there, right? And then there is a minus sign right there. And then there is a number right over here. Every single time you click this plus button right over here, every time you click this plus button, this function increase people will run. Every time you click this minus button over here, this function decrease people will run. That's what's happening. So that's why these functions have special names. Do not change them unless you change them here, and then you're fine. Okay, but I just don't want you to fall prey. The next thing, every time you clickety clack and type anything in here or here, anything you type in here, you're gonna run this calculate bill function, okay, for your tip and your bill total. Okay, so calculate bill, and then you also have calculate bill twice. You can see that. So this calculate bill is for this one, and this calculate bill here is for this one. Okay, so every time you type in any of those fields, calculate bill automatically fires and runs. And then the other things you'll need to know are a couple of things like, you have this bill input and you have a tip input, right? So you have IDs like bill total input, and you have other IDs like tip input. So let's look for tip input. You have tip input, okay? Now, because I'm nice, all right, not everybody's going to be this nice, but what I've done for you is I have put it all into the JavaScript file, everything you need to know. So you don't have to go to your index.html file pretty much at all. Okay, you don't have to go and look at anything. Because what I've done here for you is I've already just told you, hey, here are the 3 functions you need to know: calculate bill, increase people, decrease people. I'm already letting you know these functions are hard-coded in the HTML, so you cannot change their names. And then I'm already letting you know these are all the div IDs you're going to need access to. So you're going to need access to bill total input. This is going to be this div or this input field. So that's going to be that input field. You're going to need tip input. Okay, this is going to be the user input for tip. You're going to need access to, so let's just draw these again. That's right there. Tip input is right there. You're going to need access to number of people, which is right there. This is a div. Okay, so this is a div ID. So once you get the div, you're going to need to do .inner text to get these, okay? And then you're going to need access to, so you're going to either, for this, I think you might need to do .value, one of those, .value or .inner text. Okay, try both of them and it should work. One of them should work. And then you have per person total, which is right there. So those are the div IDs you're going to need access to. I'm already telling you their exact names, so you don't have to look in your HTML file. Right over here on line 20, I'm telling you, hey, get global access to all of these inputs. Okay, meaning just get access to all of these inputs right here before you start creating your functions, because your functions are going to need access to them. So, if I were you, I'd do something like const, let's say bill total input div or something, right? And then, or bill total input, and you can do something like document dot get element by ID, and then pass in bill total input. Okay, this is just an example of how you would get this specific one right over here. All right, so what I'd recommend is you grab not just this one, but all of them. So you have all 4 of these divs and have access to them. That's what I would recommend you do here. Going underneath here, I recommend that on line 24, line 25, get number of people from number of people div. So once you get access to these 4 divs, bill input, tip input, number of people div, and per person total div, you can use the number of people div, and from there you can actually get access to the number of people by pulling the .text, okay? And remember to typecast. So anytime you get a thing, so let's say thing input, and then you would either do .value or .inner text, but both of them are going to return to you a string that's going to look like this. And then you call the number function on it, and then that will turn it into an actual 10. Okay. And then you'll be able to do math on that. Because remember, if you take 10 string and you add another 10 string to this, this is actually going to give you not 20, but 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Okay, which is going to be silly. So you want to do it the right way. Okay, so make sure you typecast it, use that number function. Okay. So this is where you're going to set up all your globals, and then you're going to be good to go. Now, let's go into each of these functions at a high level. So you're going to create 3 functions here. All right. And you're going to define these 3 functions. So calculate bill will pretty much run all the time. Like you should calculate bill when a user types it here automatically. You should calculate bill when the user updates to tip. You should calculate bill when the user hits this plus sign. You should calculate the bill when the user hits this minus sign. And ultimately, what calculate bill is doing is it's updating this number over here, the total per person owed. Okay, that's the ultimate job of calculate bill. Okay, you can see it says calculate the total bill per person. That's what it does. And then if you go here, there are ample amounts of tips for you on how to actually do this. Okay, so I have tons of notes for you as you go and code this along. So I hope you don't have too much problems there. Okay, I guide you through everything. Hey, get the user input and convert it into a number. So I'm reminding you to typecast here. Hey, get the tip from user and convert it into a percentage. Hey, get the total tip amount, calculate the total amount, and then update it on the DOM and show it to the user. Right? So update it on the DOM means update this right here. So calculate bill, hopefully that kind of makes sense at high level. Increase people. What this will do is splits the bill between more people. All right. So what should happen here? Well, it walks you through. It should increment the amount of people. I'll just say amount of people. Then you update the DOM with the new number of people. All right. So what does that mean? So you increment the amount of people, and then once you increment it, you make sure that you write that to the DOM, like you change this 1 to a 2, for example. And this function runs, increase people function runs every time you hit this plus button. So when you hit this plus button, that function runs. When you hit the minus button, decrease people function runs. Okay, hopefully those are kind of self-explanatory, but hopefully that makes sense. And then at the end, you want to calculate the bill based on the number of people. So I'm already giving you a hint. You're going to be reusing some of the functions you've created previously. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to close this. Go here. Decrease people. It splits the bill between fewer people. Okay, so I'm going to go over the similarities between increase and decrease people, right? If you look at this, increment, update the DOM, calculate the bill. Decrease people, decrement amount of people. Update the DOM with the new number of people, and then calculate the bill based on the new number of people. So they're pretty similar in how they work. So once you figure out one of them, the next one will be really easy. The only difference between decrease people is when you hit plus, you can go as high as you want. But when you hit minus, you shouldn't be able to go below 1 because it wouldn't make sense, right? You have the bill, but then how come it has 0 people that owe it? That doesn't make sense. So it shouldn't have 0, or you can't have negative people, right? So you can't decrease the number of people to 0 or negative. So here I recommend you write a guard clause. I haven't shown you what a guard clause is, but basically it's just an if. Here it's a fancy name for just an if statement, and the if statement is just something along the lines of this, okay? If something is not true, okay, I'm just going to write it in English, just return. And what that basically means is this will end the function. So if you say return, it just won't activate any lines that are below it. So let's say you were going to decrement the number of people here, but here you check for the condition. Is people equal to one or less? So you go, hey, is people less than or equal to 1? If people is less than or equal to 1, then don't run any of these lines of code, right? Like just stop. The return here is just like, hey, stop the function, end it right here. Okay, and you're not even giving it anything to return. Just stop right here. So that's an example of how that would work. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of all of that now. So that would be our decrease people function. Okay, so I hope that this exercise kind of gives you everything you need to know. And now you should be able to get started working on this project. I wish you the best of luck and give it your best shot. Try as hard as you possibly can. I really believe you're going to make a lot of progress. And I think that if you really push yourself, you should be able to do this. If you don't get this done, don't get discouraged. It's okay. I'm right here, right? We'll code this together. I'll show you the solution next. And yeah, we'll just walk through this together. Okay. So pause the video now, give this a shot and try to nail this and get this done. And then what I recommend is you come back and walk through the solution, because our solutions might be different and you might be able to pick up, a lot of things from how maybe I solved the problem versus maybe how you solved the problem. Okay. And remember, in coding, there always can be multiple different ways. So one way isn't necessarily wrong. Okay. It's kind of an art form. So we're going to have different ways where we get to something. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this and get to working, and I'll see you soon. All right. So I hope that you gave it a try. And if you got it, good job for solving the tip calculator. If you didn't, it's okay. We're going to do it now. Let's do it together. So let's build a tip calculator. So here we're going to walk through, right? And let's pay attention to the instructions. The first thing is we're going to get access to all of our inputs and divs. Okay. So our bill input, tip input, number of people div, and per person total div. So let's get access to all of these now. So I'm basically going to say const bill input, and we're going to say document.getElement by ID. And we're going to say bill total input. And then we're going to get access to our tip input. So we're going to say document.getElement by ID. And I'm going to paste in tip input because these are the specific IDs I need. Then let's get access to our number of people div. And we're going to do getElement by ID. And then we're going to paste that in right there, number of people. And we're going to do get access to our per person total. Okay. And this will be per person total. So we're going to get access to all of this. And what global access means is because we're defining it all the way up here, all of our functions will have access to all of these divs. All right. Another thing we're going to need is we're going to need the number of people from number of people div. So now I'm going to say let number. Why I'm saying let here is because the number of people is going to change. So sometimes it's going to be 1, sometimes it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So number of people is going to change. So we're going to say let number of people equal. We're going to go to our number of people div, right? And then we'll try and see if we can do inner text, and let's typecast it into a number. Now let's see if any of this works. Okay, so in my calculate bill, I'm just going to try to do a console log, and I'm just going to say, hey, show me number of people. And let's just see if like any of this is even working, right? So if I type in here, every time I type, it runs my calculate bill function. And every time it runs that, it actually shows me my number of people, right? My number of people is 1. So that's why I just keep saying 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay. Now I can do console log, and we can also do bill input, right? And I can get the bill input value, and we can console log that too. So I can go here and say 1, 2, 3, and you can see we got 1, 2, 3 at the bottom, right? And the console log ABC, and I got ABC at the bottom. Hopefully you can see that. It's right there. Perfect. So it looks like I'm able to get information from these divs and things. So that's working. So I'm going to now remove these console logs because I've verified what I needed to verify. Now I'm just going to follow the instructions that I have written here. So get bill from user input and convert it into a number. So I'm going to basically say, hey, bill input. And what I'm going to say, dot value should honestly get me the actual bill. Now I should just have to typecast it to a number, and this should get me the actual bill. And now let's just save it to a variable and we'll call that bill. Let's console log bill and let's see what happens. Okay, so let's run our app and 1, 2, 3, right? And our bill is constantly being printed out to the screen and it's a number. So that's good. So I'm going to remove this console log. Don't need that anymore. Now we're going to get the tip from user and convert it into a percentage. So we're going to say const tip is equal to, we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to say tip input dot value this time. And we're going to actually convert it into a percentage, right? Because that's what it says. Convert it into a percentage divided by 100. So we're going to divide it by 100. Now let's console log the tip percentage. Let's run this, and I'm going to do 10. And notice it gave me 0.1 because 10 divided by 100 is 0.1. So that's perfect, right? We're getting our tip percentage. That means it's 10%. Great. So I can get rid of this console log. Don't need that anymore. All right. Now we're going to get the total tip amount. And how we're going to get this is we're just basically going to say, you know, it's going to be bill multiplied by tip percentage, right? So now let's go ahead and console log this, and we're going to say tip amount, tip amount. Okay, and I'm going to just put it as an object so it prints out kind of nicely. So let's go ahead and let's do, writing this is the same as writing this. Both are the same. So this is just like a little pro hack. All right, so I'm going to say 10. And tip amount did not get updated. Interesting. So let's go ahead and fix that. Let's run this again. Let's say 10. Oh, because I'm not putting in a bill total. So let's go ahead and do $100, 10% on that. Tip amount is 10. What if it was $200? Tip amount would be $20. Let's do $300. And you can see that tip amount is calculating correctly, right? It says 30. That's perfect. So it looks like this is working. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this console log. Don't need that anymore. All right, now next up, we need to calculate the total. So the total is going to be tip amount plus bill. So let's go ahead and do const total, and we're going to say tip amount plus bill. Okay, let's go ahead and console log that now, and let's run. And when I type in 100 and I type in 10%. So right now tip is assuming 0%. So now we have 100. Oh, by the way, let's do that little trick. We'll do this, wrap it in an object. Let's try this again. And we're going to say 100, and we're going to give a tip of 10%. And you can see total is 110, right? Let's give a tip of 20%, and total is 120. So this is working exactly like how we want it to. Let's get rid of this now. Now we're going to calculate the per person total, where we're going to divide by the number of people. So that should be easy. We're going to do per person total, and we're going to do total divided by, and we already have access to number of people right here, right? This is pulling, number of people is pulling straight from here. Okay, so it's 1, and we're typecasting it into a number, so it's going to not be a string of 1, but it's an actual number of 1, right? So we're going to do that divided by number of people, and now let's go ahead and let's show that. So we're going to do per person total. Let's run this, and we have $100, tip is 10%, and per person total is 110. It's because right now we're not able to increase the number of people, right? But let's say I went to my HTML file and I just hard coded that 1 to a 2. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to hard code that to a 2. Let's run our app and let's see if this works. So I'm going to say bill is 100, and then tip is 10%, and you can see that it says $55 per person, right? Which makes ample amount of sense. $55 per person. Why? Because it's $110. 110 divided by 2 people is 55. So now let's go and change that hard-coded 2 back to a 1. Let's run our app again, and because we want to change that dynamically, right? We don't want to like hard code it in. So make sure that this is back to a 1 when you run your app. Perfect. So what's up next? Let's go down and let's see what's up next. And now update the per person total on DOM and show it to user. Okay, cool. So let's go do that. So I'm gonna grab per person total div because I have access to it from up here. Oh, let's just call it per person total div. Okay. So per person total div, we have access to it up there. Let's pay, yeah, per person total div. And we're going to change its inner text to per person total right over here. Okay. So I'm going to say per person total. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm just kind of misunderstanding this, but like what I mean is this is going to be total per person. Okay. So that's this div right here, per person total. So we are updating it correctly. Okay. So let's just see what happens now. Let's run this. Let's go ahead and type in 100. Let's type in 10%. And let's see what happens. We're getting back 110. So that's good, but we want it to be in dollars. So let's go ahead and do string template literals. And we're going to wrap it in this and just put another $sign. So this $sign will just make sure this is JavaScript. And then this $sign will actually put an actual $sign. So I'll say 100 and we'll do 10. And when we go here, you can see that it says $110. Okay, great. Now, what happens if we have a bill that's something like this, 148.5? What happens if we have a bill that's like decimals, you know, or has maybe weird decimals? And now you can see that it started showing like lots of decimal places, right? Like, so for $135.52, it says $149.072. Like, how are you going to pay that in cents? That doesn't really make sense. So what we want to do here is we want to do a .toFixed. So we're going to do that now. So you can actually do .toFixed and pass in 2 right there. And it's going to make sure that it doesn't go beyond 2 decimals. So let's try some number again like that. And you'll notice that now it actually just goes to 2 decimal places. Now, what if the bill is more like $3,000 or something like that? It gives you 3,300, but it doesn't, you know, it'd be nicer if it kind of put a comma in there, right? So if you want to kind of do that, what we can actually do, and this is a cool trick that I learned that I use a lot actually. So that's why I kind of want to show it off here. You can do .locale string and just pass in en-us. So it's just going to format it to US currency, like a dollar currency or whatever, right? And now if you try some bill, right, you notice that it's actually putting that $sign and that comma, or sorry, not the $sign, but the comma, which is nice. So like if you get some like, I don't know, you're never going to have a bill this much when you're eating food, right? But all the commas are there. And if you get up to 25 million, the commas are still there. So this is good. Now we just want to make sure that we still do that .toFixed thing. So let's do toFixed and pass it to 2 places, right? So fix it to 2 decimals first and then turn it into with commas. Let's try it. So let's try some big number and let's do decimal places like crazy. And notice that the decimal places here don't change. Okay, so great. All right, in this case, all right, lesson learned. So it seems like if you try to use .toFixed and locale string, it doesn't work. So just pick one. In this case, we're just going to stick to .toFixed for now, okay? So without making it much more complex, and that'll just take care of the decimal places, which is perfectly fine actually. But yeah, our decimal places will be fine. And then you can give whatever percentage tip and everything will work out as expected. So let's get rid of this console log. We don't need this anymore. So I just got rid of it. Perfect. So now it seems like our calculate bill is doing exactly what it needs to do, right? It calculates the bill in a really intelligent way. So now all we got to do is let's work on increase people. So here it says increment the amount of people. Well, I already have number of people right here in line 29. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and paste it here, and I'm just going to do plus equals 1. So we're just going to increment the number of people by 1, and then we're going to update it on the DOM. So we're going to grab number of people div, which is going to be this div right here, okay, and we're just going to pop in the number of people that we now have. So we're going to say number of people is equal to number of people dot inner text is equal to number of people. Okay, so now let's run this and let's hit plus. And you can see that every time I hit plus, it actually increments the number of people and then it shows it. And that's why you can see that it's showing it exactly how we want it to, right? And right now minus doesn't work. Okay, so that's fine. We'll do that in a second. But watch what happens. When I do this, the bill doesn't calculate the right way. I have 10 people. Okay, so let's run this again. Let's go $100. Tip is 10%. Okay, and let's run this. And you can see it's saying everybody owes $110 per person. That doesn't make sense because $110, that's $1,100. So how come the bill started with $110 and now we owe $1,110? So something's wrong. So what we need to do is once we do this, we need to recalculate the bill based on the new number of people, which is super easy. All we have to do here is reuse the function we just created. So just call this function and that should handle everything. So let's go ahead, run this. I'm gonna say we have $100 bill. I'm gonna say we're tipping, let's say 10%. Number of people is 2. And boom, look at that, it's 55. Why does it work? Because remember, per person total is calculated total divided by number of people. So when you update number of people here, this number of people updates, and that's number of people calculate bill function has access to. So when you run it again, it just recalculates this with a new number of people after you change them. Pretty beautiful, right? So very, very simple. Let's go ahead and do the same thing. So this code is going to be really, really, really similar for decrease. So decrement the amount of people. Instead of +1, we're going to do -1. Number of people div, we're going to update that. And then we're going to recalculate the bill. So it's going to be very similar to increase. So watch what happens. When I have $100, I have a 10% tip. I can go one way and I can go backwards. Look at that. How nice. But here is the problem. I can go I can go less than 1. Watch. I went to -1. What is that? I'm going to negative numbers. What is happening? How can I have... So what, the restaurant now owes me for eating there? Like they should. You know what I mean? Like the royalty's there to eat. You are special. You are a royalty. So if you went and the restaurant owed you money, I would understand. Okay, fair enough. Because you're here watching this tutorial. You're top of the food chain. All right, while everybody struggles out there, you're here grinding it out so then you can level up your career, provide for your family, provide for your kids. So you're a champ. Tap yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back. Do both. Tap and pat, doing both. All right, so we don't want to go below 1 person. So we're going to add what I call a guard clause here. I'm basically going to say if number of people is less than or equal to 1, homie, just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Don't run. This simply here means end the function right here, end the decrease people function on line 70, and don't run any of this. So let's try this again, and I'll explain. 100, 10%. Now, when I hit minus, watch what happens. Hit minus, nothing happens. When I hit plus, it works. When I hit minus, it works. But when I hit minus now, it doesn't work. So what is happening? When it's 1 or less than 1, it just says, hey, I noticed that this function is running, but I want you to only run here. And when this condition is true, because number of people is 1, right? So it's 1 less than or equal to 1. Yes, it's true. So then the code just stops and doesn't end up running any of this. Now, in the other case scenario, where number of people is, let's say 2, it goes as 2 less than or equal to 1, and it goes false. So then it doesn't run this, but it ends up running all of these here. Okay, so that's why it's a guard clause, right? So we're just guarding the entire code base and we stop it, okay? To prove to you, I'm just going to say, so log number of people. So I'm going to stop. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this and watch what happens when I hit minus. It detects 1 is 1 or less than 1, so I'm going to stop, right? But when I go here and try to run minus, see, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. The console log statement doesn't happen. Doesn't happen even here. Doesn't happen even here. But when I go 1 more below, boom, 1 is 1 or less than 1, so I'm going to stop. 1 is 1 or less than 1, so I'm going to stop. So it's detecting it, right? Every single time. Okay. So we can even like leave a little message for the user and say, you know, hey, you cannot less than one person, right? So now like the user can see this message and no, okay, I can't do that, right? So plus, 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 minus, minus, minus. Hey, you cannot have less than one person. And if you want to make it more intrusive and more visible to the user, you can even do something like an alert. So now we go 100, 10% tip, plus, 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 minus, 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 minus. Says, hey, right? You cannot have less than one person. So it lets us know right there that that's not a possibility. So you can do it whatever way you want. Okay, you could throw an error if you want, and like that'll kind of crash the app. And if you want to be really pro, I can give you one like kind of pro JavaScript tip. Is what you can do is you can throw an error and show the user they're doing something wrong, but like kind of in a sneaky way. So here you can say you can replace this alert with something called a throw, and they'll throw an error. You could do throw, and then what's nice about throw is you won't even need that return, like, or just leave the return here, but like you won't really need it. Okay, so you can do that return pattern. I'm leaving this return here to show you can use that return pattern again and again because that's normally what I do. But here, if you want to throw an error and really let the user know, you could do that, right? So for example, boom, 100, 10%. I try to hit minus and it throws like a red little error at the bottom. It says, hey, you cannot have less than one person. So it's very clear that the user is trying to do something that they're not allowed to do, and like you can make it visible. All right, so there you go. Let's see if this entire thing is working or not. Let's open it up here and let's check, right? We just built this. Man, we're excited, right? Let's see if it works. So we got a bill. We just went and ate at a nice restaurant. Let's say you went to Cheesecake Factory. You took your family out. I mean, it's a nice night out, right? They gave you a big fat bill for $375. Maybe you brought some friends with you. And they're like, hey, mandatory tip is 20%. So you all start freaking out. Who's going to calculate it? What is it going to be? What's happening, right? So you go, okay, we got the tip is, 10%, or we're going to give a 20% tip. So that's $450 right now, but you only have selected as one person. But luckily you brought your friends with you, right? You brought the entire gang, hopefully. So, you got Juanes, you got Daniel, you got Frankie, you got Lance, you got Nas. I mean, you got the whole gang up in there, right? So you got all these 6 people. Look at that. Your bill is only $75. That's not too bad, right? That's not too bad. That's easy. Maybe you bring in 2 other people from somewhere. You go to them and you grab them and you're like, hey, come join our party and split the bill with them too. Now, the more the merrier, am I right? And you got $56.25. I mean, this is, at this point, the restaurant should be paying you, right? This is nothing. Cheesecake Factory, nice night out with the family and friends. I mean, come on, that's a bargain. The 20% tip, right? So this is really nice, right? This is really nice app that we could actually use. And what's amazing is it's already hosted online thanks to REPL. Yeah, it's deployed on the interwebs. So you could put it on your portfolio. You could do whatever you want with it. It's live, ready to go. Okay, ignore that sound. That was having a focus session and it makes this little bang. So now what I want you to do is you're going to grab all of this JavaScript code that you wrote, go back to this exercise file, okay, and go to tip calculator, go to exercise, go to the script.js, okay, and then delete everything that's in this exercise file, okay, and then paste your code in here, all right? And give it a try and see if it works. So go and run it. So go to your now project exercises. You should be able to go to tip calculator. You should be able to type in things like 100, 10%, plus, 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 minus, minus, minus. It should all work smoothly. Okay. So make sure you go ahead and do that. Update your exercise as you go. So you have the most up-to-date version with all of your projects completed all in one place, nice and ready for you to use. All right, that was a tip calculator. I hope you had fun. I had a ton of fun actually sharing it. It's 11:53 p.m. I was supposed to have a date night with my girlfriend. We were going to watch The Boys. The new season of The Boys is out. I mean, God, that show is good. Season 3. Started watching this Indian movie called RRR. Phenomenal. And about to move soon, leaving Marina Del Rey. Man, a lot's going on, a lot's going on. And instead of doing any of those things, I decided to be here and build this app with you and do it together. So it's going to be awesome. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was awesome. Let's continue. Let's learn more JavaScript. I hope you're excited. I love your beautiful face, and I'll see you soon. Let's go. Whew, that was a lot. I hope you enjoyed watching that video and learning more about JavaScript. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because this is a channel where we help you become an incredible developer. I love your beautiful face, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.